Hey everyone, it's Ashley Jones, Event Director at Marketing Showcase. Thanks for watching one of our recordings from Marketing Showcase Online. I really hope you enjoy it, and hopefully I'll see you at another one soon. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I'm not going to do the intros because I think you're going to do it much better. So I'm going to hand over to Nick. If you can tell me a little bit about yourself, what you guys do at Let's Run Social, and why you're qualified to sit here in this Q&A about Facebook ads.
Why we're qualified. Brilliant. Okay, so my name is Nick Bollington. I'm the digital director of Let's Run Social and co-founder. And I basically work on the back end. It's what we call on the tools. It's where we make this magic happen by using the things that we're learning from big brands. So we represent some very big blue chip brands out there who spend a lot of money. We get a lot of learnings from that. And it enables us to really put that in, because we also have smaller clients, and it enables us to see what's going on by using people's big budgets to take lots of learnings from. James is my co-founder. He's what we call front of house, like a restaurant, and he's the one who speaks about to new clients and prospects and things like that, about the strategies, the funnel building, how we can take this down, how we can layer it, and how we essentially build the funnels, because it's not just about an ad. Anyone can set up a Facebook ad. It's about what happens after the ad, and that's actually as important, if not more important, than the running of the ad. And I think that's where people go wrong. So this is our expertise on all the things that we do every single day.
Good, and we're really pleased to have you. Whilst you've been doing that intro, we've already got 7 questions in the Q&A, which is going to give us plenty of stuff to go by. So I just want to reiterate, make sure you're upvoting the ones that are most popular, and we'll work through those from the top. Just before we get underway, we wanted to launch a little poll to see where what the current state of play is with your experience. We've given you a couple of options. Are you using Facebook ads? Are you a wizard? Blah, blah, blah. You'll work it out. The poll is running. Please answer that. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So, guys, the top question at the moment is just switching around, but the best format for ad creative for all devices. So let's talk about formats of Facebook ads, and particularly how they sit on mobile versus desktop, and what your experience is with that, please.
Okay, so I think I had this yesterday with someone that we're consulting, and if I start with landing pages or where people are sending people to, is the fact that most people build this sort of stuff in desktop view. Now, when you start running ads, or you look at all of the ads that we're running from clients, the majority of ads are watched on a mobile. So I think it's really, really, really important that when you build a Facebook ad and you tick Instagram and Facebook, wherever you want to, whichever placement you want to send it to, Facebook does a very, very good job at formatting that anyway. So as long as your image is square, it's going to get moved around to fit all the different placements. It's like I said before, it's what happens afterwards. So what you'll find is a lot of people will go automatically. Well, the thing is, we build websites and we build landing pages and we do all this sort of stuff, and we do it on a desktop. So we do it on our PCs. But what we need to start doing is actually building it on our PC, but in mobile view. That's where it goes wrong. So I hope that answers the question, because Facebook will do the formatting itself and it will guide you. So if you've chosen a particular placement, we do most of our stuff on automatic placements. We insert a square picture, any type of video, whether it's been filmed in landscape or portrait, and Facebook will reformat it. But think about what's happening after they've clicked it, where you're sending them, because you'll find that your landing page or website might look great on a desktop, but 98% of the people are probably going to look on a mobile. So think about what it's going to look like on a mobile.
Something I would just quickly add there, Ash, in terms of the actual creative, obviously you've got video and then you've got static images. It all depends on what your objective is for that ad. Is it to educate the audience at the top, or is it to actually bring people in and just convert them? And obviously you've got lead generation and e-commerce, which are very two different hooks there. So again, it's very much horses for courses. So yeah, hopefully we answered that. And I know it's a bit broad, but it's very much looking at what that objective is and reverse engineering from there.
Definitely, that's a great answer. Rolling on to the next top question from Louise. How effective is Facebook for business? We are an engineering business and do most activities on LinkedIn, but are considering Facebook. And I'd sort of give a bit of background to that. We get asked this so often when we run a session on Facebook ads. It's like, I'm a traditional B2B business. I don't post cat videos on my Facebook page. Therefore, I'm not sure whether it's relevant for me. Can you cast some light on engineering businesses and other B2B businesses and how they might be able to utilize Facebook, or perhaps not?
Well, I'll answer this one, and they absolutely can. And this is my biggest bugbear with essentially Facebook and Instagram marketing. Your audience is on Facebook and Instagram. They're also on LinkedIn. The difference with Facebook is this is very invasive, and these people aren't on Facebook because they're there for business. They're, like you said, Dash, from a personal level, seeing their kids, their grandchildren. But if you can get their attention because they're in a senior role within a business, then there's no difference in LinkedIn and Facebook. It's just you need to grab their attention. And we put theory to this. We have and this is going off a bit of a tangent, we have a data business. So we sell prospect lists to a range of businesses, business owners in the UK, from big and small. And we started running our own Facebook ads 5 days ago. And we're already getting leads into our own B2B funnel at around £15 per lead for people to try B2B data. Now that's a hook of going, hey, have you tried data before? Is this something that you've been stung with in the past? Have you bought a poor list? Hey, we can help. Come and see us. We've tried to grab their attention. We've got a good hook, which is a free trial. Hey, come into our ecosystem. Now, I wasn't expecting the lead cost to come down so quickly in such a small amount of time, but we've got a very good hook there. So again, that sort of proves the point that you can use Facebook for a B2B service or product. You just got to make sure you've got the right hook. And obviously the biggest thing is, and obviously Nick, this is for you and your team, but you've got to make sure that the audiences that you're selecting within Facebook and the creative and the copy are on point so that you're really grabbing the attention of those consumers.
Yeah. And also, I would to add to that, call out to the person as well. Only yesterday, actually, I was doing some research with Facebook on particular things and talking about iOS, actually. And it makes it even easier now, Ash, because if we go back to Google and everything, we're all used to banner ads. And when Facebook first started doing its advertising a few years back, it was down the right-hand side when you're on a desktop. That's where the ads were. And they made a decision to bring the ads actually into the feed. And it was the best decision ever because no other platform like Twitter or anyone has actually worked it out as well as Facebook have. But you need to call out to that person. The other thing is, like James talks about, as low as £15 a lead. I think that's where a lot of people in the B2B sector get scared off because they hear all the talk of, a lead's £1 or £2 a lead. Bear with me, sir. And then you end up spending 15 quid. And I think people think it's too expensive. So I think that's what you need to look into. How much are you prepared to pay for a B2B lead? What's that worth to you? How long will it take to convert that person? What's your conversion rate? And I think the other thing is, without going off, we try to speak as quickly as possible, is the sales process. And on our podcast, we talk about this on some of our episodes, the sales process after the lead has been captured. What's happening? Is it good? Is your process actually good once they're in? Because that makes a massive difference to how much you're prepared to pay for a lead.
Brilliant. That leads me really nicely into sharing the poll results, because in one of those we were asking what's your experience. To be honest with you, not many people are saying it's expensive. However, plenty of people haven't tried it. A lot of people saying it's too complicated, and other people putting other. So, probably the biggest bugbear there is that Facebook ads are too complicated rather than a budget thing, which is interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd agree with the complicated bit. It's we get, as an agency, we get stuck. Facebook is changing a lot at the moment. There's lots of new things because the iOS 14 update that came out, which has really played havoc with digital platforms. Facebook are working very, very hard to get around this, and we haven't seen the results really move that much. But I'm learning every week at the moment from my level, as in like something pops up on your ads manager. It's like, okay, what's this about? And then it's a whole process of learning that new technique, and it can go quite in depth because now people have to verify their domain before they can start doing this. And the minute that happens, suddenly it's very techy. It's like, wow, now you've got to go to your domain provider and you've got to put some SMTP details in. But it's trying to keep it simple. And it's just like, you're just creating a campaign and just follow what Facebook says. If when you're creating those campaigns and you start thinking it's complicated, you're probably looking at something that doesn't need to be done. Just stick to the simple areas. And if you don't understand it, don't fill it in, you could probably still run the ad.
What I would also say, Ash, in terms of that question, it's as complicated as you want it to be. You can make this, you can use Facebook very simplistically. You can just run retargeting ads, which means you're not going out to a cold audience. So you're not worried about the massive hooks, that invasiveness. So if you're doing a lot on things like PPC, or you're doing a lot organically via LinkedIn, and you're bringing people to you're bringing traffic to a landing page or your website, you could just use Facebook and social platforms just to retarget those people. Going out cold to a cold audience on Facebook and then being invasive is very different than, hey, I'm just retargeting someone. So I would say to someone that's looking at Facebook and going, God, it looks quite daunting. Start at that level and then just increase your knowledge like anyone else would. That'd me, but it is as complicated as you want it to be, really.
Okay. Moving on to, and you kind of mentioned it in your last answer, Nick, particularly about budget. So one of our visitors asked, is it worth testing with a smaller budget, or should you invest a higher amount?
Higher.
Done.
You're going to get
next question.
You're going to get your learnings too. You have to work off the data to get Facebook ads working. You need to know things like how much it's costing to get 1,000 impressions, how much it's costing to get a link click, how many people are hitting your landing page, and things like that. So you can look at the data and go, okay, what are the conversion rates I'm looking for? If you're only spending £10 a day, and I know this because I've got some consultancy clients who've then got clients who've given them like 10 quid a day, and I'm like, it's never going to work because you're not getting enough data through to actually get any learnings. So if someone was to say, I want to spend £1,000 a month ongoing, I would say, well, get £2,000 for the first couple of weeks to find out what's working, and then bring it into the ongoing budget of £1,000 a month.
And when we're talking about budgets, I'm sure everyone's asking, it's always an awkward thing to it's not awkward, but I think people don't actually ask, because what is expensive to one maybe isn't expensive to the other. But are we talking thousands that need to be invested each month to seriously see results? Or can you make wins out of a few hundred quid here and there? Or what's the attitude to bring to it?
It depends what it depends what the product, service, or what you're selling is, Ash, because there's a lot of our clients that, and even us with, some of the ads we run for ourselves, we've started really high budgets, and then it's become so successful, we've actually had to turn our budget down because we can't actually deal with the volume of leads.
Great place.
Which is a great place to be in, of course, which is great. But we've had those learnings up front. So like Nick said, that we've put a lot of investment up front. We understand, the click-through rates, the cost per lead, the actual, lifetime values, and all those, the boring stuff. Essentially, when you're growing your business, we now know what those are. So we can now say, well, actually, we need X amount of leads per month. If our lead cost is £10, if we need 100 a month, well, we know what our cost is going into it. That's the perfect place to be. E-commerce is very different, because if you're getting a return of 3, 4, 10, or for every £10, I'm going to get £100 back. Well, if you're an e-commerce business, I'd personally say, just keep putting £10 in, and a lot of them, because you're just going, but where lead gen is very different. So it's very, I know that's a very broad answer and probably not exactly what people want to hear, but it is very much, you can go low, but like Nick said, then you're limited then with the data that you get back.
It's also cost per acquisition on e-com. So if it's going to cost you on average, it's quite common, you see £15 to £20 per acquisition, even if we're looking at some of the food product companies that we deal with as an agency. They're selling biltong, they're selling pork crackling, all these different types of food products. Now, those are going out the door as a bulk order at 25 quid for a pack of 10 biltongs or whatever. Cost per acquisition is going to cost 25. So you've got to spend that kind of money a day just to get an order.
Yeah.
So, you do hear of people £5, £10. You're just not going to, it's not going to work out for you, and you're going to think that Facebook advertising doesn't work. I don't see those kind of budgets working enough, really. And if your cost per acquisition is £15 to £25 a day, you need to spend half a decent amount of money to get the learnings.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Rachel's asked, are there any tips not to burn through your budget and actually get leads?
You're going to burn through some, Rachel. I'm sorry.
You have to go into advertising knowing that you're going to have to wastage. at the beginning.
Yeah. But it's not, yes, you're wasting money, but the result of that waste is imperative to move forward. Once you, like we said, we understand that data and what audience are working, what audiences aren't working. It's a bit like with the guys at Force 24, Ash, with email marketing. If you buy a data list and suddenly solicitors aren't responding to your emails, you don't keep sending to solicitors. See what I mean? And it's very much this is the same with Facebook. If an audience isn't resonating with your ad, well, then stop or change tack.
Yeah, I can quickly tell the audience how to just quickly create an ad to learn very quickly. Create an ad. If let's say you've got one image and you've got your text and you've got your link that you want to send them through to, you want to go on to create, and then you'll see a little button called campaign budget optimization. Click that on, and that will get and say, let's put £30 a day on it. And then on your next page where you're creating the ad set, create your ad, do it as a whole, and then go into that ad set and duplicate that one ad. So essentially you've got one campaign and you're going to create multiple ads. So let's say you create 4 different ads with different audiences. Everything's the same, your audience is different, and that'll teach you very much, because one audience will work over the other 2. The problem is that people go in with logic and assuming that, hey, I'm selling biltong, for instance, and people who like beef will buy this. So they set up an audience with people who like beef, show them a biltong ad, they click through to the website, they don't purchase, and they think Facebook ads don't work. But if they'd done a slightly different audience or tested some different audiences, one of them may have really worked, and then that's changed the whole perception on Facebook advertising.
I want to just add to that question slightly. What do you say to Rachel, who is stuck in the middle a little bit between maybe a Facebook ads account that's spending money that perhaps isn't quite optimized or isn't producing the results required, and a big scary managing director on the other side who's saying, well, why are you wasting money on this? Why are you what do you say to her to tell her boss to kind of say, actually, we should be sticking at this?
I don't know anything about her boss. We've got a consultancy client who is in that position, and they knew Facebook advertising would work. They're doing some Facebook advertising and they're getting some return. They're making money, but they wanted more of it. So they found out about us. They listened to a podcast. I got on the phone with her, and then I ended up having to speak to the boss about it. And it just comes down to, if you're already seeing something happening and you're working at a very amateur level, then by getting experts in, whether you go to an agency or whatever, or a consultant, you are going to take it to another level again, because it's just that bit of expertise. But we very, very rarely fail with any of our clients in Facebook advertising, because we know what we're doing. So everything works, from B2B companies, from wrapping cars for advertising purposes. Our clients range across the board. We get leads or we get purchases for all of our clients. Some take 6 months to get there, some take 3 weeks to get there, some take it immediately. It can work. The problem is with nowadays is that most of these bosses, and let's say they're in their 50s, 60s, I don't understand social media, I don't know Facebook, so I'm not interested. This is the way the world is going. If you want your products and brands to get out there to a larger audience, the people are online, and you can make a lot of money if it's done properly.
Thank you. I think also, Ash, just to sort of follow on from that, people know what Google is. So people know, MDs, let's say in the bracket that Nick said, in the sort of 50s and 60s, they know what Google is. They understand that people are typing in and searching for something. Whereas, as I said earlier, this is invasive marketing. People don't know of you and your brands. And I think a lot of companies are very daunted by that and go, whoa, what do you mean? I'm putting a message out to someone that may not want to hear about me. But, digital marketing, especially with Facebook and Instagram, we do work with a 99% failure rate, which is the truth. But that 1% can be huge amounts of profit for a business. And it's just changing that mentality to, not the 1% success rate, but actually that you are going to fail with 99% of people, which isn't, great to hear, but that's the reality.
And going off the comment right at the beginning of this of saying, for B2B, I don't post pictures of cats on Instagram. Instagram factually has actually moved a long way from that. Instagram is being looked at most consumers looking at Instagram now are looking for value. So it's not about the cat pictures. I completely get it. It was like that. It is now that if you watch a lot of people, even our own stuff, it's informational. It's putting value out to the consumers. People are learning from it. People in fitness. That's what Instagram is being used for now. So as a business, whatever you are advertising, rather than going in, we call it looking for low hanging fruit, is everyone's going after those ripe apples that are just about to drop off the tree. Everyone's going for that. It's the most expensive to go to. But what about the ones who are ripening up? So get in front of those people by showing value. If you can, you want to prove that you can help someone by actually helping them. And that's what we do for our podcast. We get so much business coming from our podcast because we are proving that we can help someone by providing value. So when that person wants to be helped, they come to us.
Brilliant. Links to the podcast on both Apple and Spotify I put in the chat. I hope that works. I haven't tried it, but it should work.
You're getting commission on the podcast, aren't you?
I think so, yeah. I'm just waiting for that guest spot just so I can really, you know, muscle my way. Anyway, another question that's come in the top of the list at the moment. There are some really good ones a little bit lower down, so I want to try and smash through these because we are tight on time. So talking about what type of ads do you find works best? So I'm assuming this means ad formats, particularly on Facebook. Can you run us through the different formats and what you're seeing is trending at the minute?
Video works really, really well. A video giving value at the top, what we call top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. The first ad, let's call it a top of funnel, you're going out to a cold audience and you're showing a video. You can do it for video views. I would do it for purchase. I'll do it for the objective being a conversion. What I mean by that is you're going to bring in the right people who are going to convert. So do a video views one and then retarget those people. So you can create an audience in Facebook of anyone who watched the video in entirety, or 25%, 50%, 75%, 90%, 100%. Retarget those people with then a salesy ad. Works really, really well.
Nice. Like that. Good idea. Amy's asked, we've used Facebook ads previously, but found that it wasn't so worthwhile for us. Do you have any tips as why this might be? What could be better to utilize Facebook ads? Now, I don't know Amy's, she hasn't left a background or anything, and I'm guessing you guys are going to answer it's probably as broad as we could get. So if that is the case,
I was going to say, Ash, why don't we get Amy to put her business down while we ask another question? Because without that we'd be shooting in the dark.
So let's move on to Amy from Real Training. She's from a training business.
Okay.
So they've educational training provider. There you go, Amy. Thank you for that. So they're in training. Have you got any clients in that sort of area? Have you had any?
Well, I'd go backwards. We have got clients in training, yeah, and they do well. We've taken down that informational value route. Give value. If you're wanting to know you're wanting to know how to do something you're wanting to know how to cook something. Okay, you see an ad about how to cook something. If you cook it and you eat it and you go, wow, that was really nice and it was documented in a really nice way and I found it really easy, you're going to remember to go there for recipes. Do exactly the same. Give. People say to us on our podcast why our podcast is growing so quickly. You give so much information out. It works. We're not thinking of it from we're going to give information and we're not going to win any business. We're giving that information because people want to know. So give tips on that particular training to people, to audit people, rather than just trying to sell them all the time. Everyone's trying to sell. Give. Then ask for a sale very politely. Give, and then ask for a sale politely. You've just got to figure out how you build that into a funnel.
Yeah, with the training as well, with a few companies that we actually do training ads for, they've got a really good and slick follow-up process with content, webinars, downloadable PDFs, Q&A sessions. And we found, with our particular clients, that's worked really, really well. So like Nick said then, in terms of that value, they add a lot of value to their prospects, and then the sales just drip feed there. So yeah, I'd say books, webinars, Q&A sessions, but make sure that follow-up process is slick, because you're going to be paying a lot more for the lead, because training, unfortunately, whether that's an academy, Facebook know that, there's a lot of people in that space, so they are going to put your costs up. So you're probably going to pay a higher cost per lead, Now, if that's the case, it doesn't mean it can't work. It just means you need to make sure that follow-up process is slick and your conversion rate is a little bit higher. But it can definitely work. Just be prepared, Amy, that if you do turn that back on whenever you do, or if you decide to, that your cost per lead is going to be a bit higher, and that your follow-up process is, like I said, absolutely slick as you like.
Nice. Right. Just as we go into the next question, we're tight on time. I want to launch this poll. Now, if you've heard from any of this, or you just want to continue the conversation, because we're really not going to have time to get through all the questions, there's a poll up for a free 30-minute consultation call with the guys, either side of me or above. Nick and James will hop onto a call and go through all this with you. So make sure if you've got some questions that haven't been answered, you're clicking that poll, and I'll make sure your details get sent over. Whilst that's going on in the background, James, I wanted to ask you this one. It's a situation that's come up quite a few times within our audience, where I speak to people and they're on the topic of Facebook ads. There's loads of free resources out there on YouTube, and they're kind of rinsing through those and trying the things that they've seen for free on some free course that we've never heard of. Or they're faced with huge agency fees and palming off the work to an agency that's going to cost, a huge amount of money, and they simply don't have the budget. What do you do when faced with that scenario?
It's a good question, Ash. We had a bit of a brainwave, and I know Nick's been obviously during this call discussing consultancy. So, like you said, I found that the Facebook marketplace, you've got people saying, "Hey, create $1 million business in a week. Hey, buy my course." That's the reality. That's what we're served with. So you've got that, or like you said, you've got, unfortunately, the big agencies that go, "Hey, I've got a setup fee of 25 grand, and hopefully I'll make it work for you." There was no sort of middle ground. So we had an idea of, and this sort of came from the podcast, we had a lot of people getting in touch saying, "Can you help me?" But they weren't ready for an agency, not because they just weren't ready. They may not have the money, or whatever that may be. So I thought, well, why don't we just do consultancy calls? So you can do bi-weekly or weekly with Nick or one of his team. Obviously, they run ads daily, so they can see what's going wrong or right with your ads, and just sort of I guess coach you through that process. And so that's what we did. So we set up the ads clinic about 2 months ago. And to get people into there, we do a free 30-minute review of your account. So some of the questions that I think Daniel's put in the question here, Danielle Penman, someone like yourself, Danielle, we could literally go into your account, have a quick look, see what issues you've got, and highlight to them. Pretty simple as that. And then obviously, the hook for us, Ash, you can probably imagine, is you then come on and be a consultancy client. So you're still getting the value out of Facebook you want, and we can still help you, which is, my overarching goal here is that everyone should be using Facebook, whether you're a small business or a large business. Everyone should be utilizing this in some manner. And that's been a massive help for a lot of clients from the consultancy. So yeah, that's how it came about. And I think it's a nice sweet spot, because like you said, Ash, you have got those two scenarios of a course or an agency. There's nothing in between, and there's a lot of people out there that are sort of in between those two grounds. So yeah, that's the ad clinic, and thus far it's been very successful, and everyone's got a lot of value out of it. So yeah.
Excellent. And that free 30-minute call, again, I'm guessing we can do that via the poll. We're offering similar, so make sure if anyone wants to get hold of that. I'm also popping a link to the ads clinic in the chat if you want to have a look at that. It's 12:01, so we've gone a minute over. I'm going to sign off with one more question, and what I'm going to do with anyone that hasn't had their question answered, obviously you've got the call, but I'll make sure those are sent over to Nick and James, and they can answer them personally to make sure that you do get your answer to your question. So the one that's at the top is asking about Facebook ads for charity purposes. Now, are there any sort of specific schemes or specific routes that you should take as a charity to advertise on Facebook?
You need to look at it the same way as any other business. At the end of the day, you're asking to take money for someone for something slightly different. Obviously, it's a charity. There are a lot of charities out there. It's very, very competitive. But again, a charity would automatically think we need to create awareness. But awareness, when you're using the marketing objectives in Facebook, 3 years ago, you could use traffic, or you could use awareness, and people will come through to a website and buy. I see very, very often, especially through the consultancy calls, that people are thinking of traffic. We talk in the world of driving traffic. So as soon as you go to set up an ad, you see the objective, which is, do you want to drive traffic? People click on it and they build their ad, they send traffic to the website, and then that website the traffic doesn't do anything, no one buys anything, no one does anything, no matter what business it is. You have to just go with the marketing objective of conversions. And then you have to, it depends on how that charity set up. Is it a charity set up that it wants to create, people can donate online, or do they have to get in touch it's looking at how that funnel works. Is that what we're going to?
No, I think that's really valid. They've put for fundraising, so I think you cover that. But we were speaking in one of the webinars earlier about charities, but for Google Ads, and the speaker was saying that there were some grants that Google offered based on like subsidizing some of the cost per clicks. Do Facebook do similar?
Right. They do. We did have that. We had that company back a while back, didn't we, James? Who were doing with mental health. They're selling pajamas for mental health. They got £2,500.
Yeah, you can reach out to Facebook and basically ask them for a donation of some description. And it's obviously, as your PPC expert said, Ash, it's done in ad spend and sort of free ad spend. We've just won a children's hospice actually in the northeast of England. We're going live with their ads in August the 3rd, and they're trying to fundraise. That's what we'll be doing for them. They've got a different hook, so they've actually been given a house very nicely from a local house builder, and we're basically auctioning that off for them. You buy a ticket. Now, when you look at things like ticket sales, so we've all seen the Amaze and those competition type ones, you're not going to get a cost per acquisition of less than probably £5-7. That's pretty much it. So even though it's a charity, I've got a hook that's in a different market. So I've got to work off £5 to £7 as the cost per ticket sale. So even though we're going to we're fundraising, we're actually going out and saying, we're now in the ticket sale business. So it's just understanding what your hook is again and reverse engineering from that. Because even though you're a charity, what is that? What's that hook and what are you trying to get that consumer to do? And that's when, unfortunately, Facebook will start looking at those costs and your CPMs and start essentially costing it out for you. So I'd understand it can work. You can get some grants, but in terms of sort of fundraising, that sort of scalability long term, what's the overarching objective and how are you going to get that?
Hi everyone, thanks for watching another recording from Marketing Showcase Online. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know, we've got all of the recordings uploaded to our brand new YouTube channel, so go over there and check it out if you want some more great content. We run these events once every month, free of charge, so head over to our website to grab tickets for next month's event. I look forward to seeing you there.